Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, osia dem yopo.
You are most welcome to PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for more updates, like and also share to other members to watch as well. You can also leave a comment after watching or send us a voice note on our WhatsApp number, which is 0277128777. Thank you. A law lecturer by name Justice Abdulai has also added his voice to the corruption matters ranking the MPP's party and this government, saying when it comes to fighting of corruption, Nana Addo is the most annoying person in line to fight corruption because he's not showing any competency of fighting corruption or doing anything to show that he is fighting corruption. Without much ado, I would like you to join me listening to what he said into detail. But before you go, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel once again, please do so for us. Hit the notification bell. Like and also share to other members to watch as well. If you have any trip bothering you, you can still hit our WhatsApp number, which is 0277128777. Thank you.
I don't know, but
I mean, it's been very interesting to see these state institutions mandated with oversight over some of these corruption issues, money laundering, all that we've seen unfold so far allegedly, seem to be even not attacking each other, but at loggerheads with each other. And this person said this, and this wasn't submitted, and so on and so forth. When the common goal is one, that we fight crime, we fight corruption, we fight money laundering, and we are able to safeguard the national purse against decimation.
I don't know if I don't know if it's corruption and corruption-related activities that we're trying to fight, or it's money laundering, because there's confusion as to what the EOCO calls its mandate and what it cannot fight, and then what OSP was supposed to have investigated, and they couldn't, or they haven't been able to. I mean, it's always a thorny issue, and the public is watching.
That's right.
They're watching and looking at what officialdom will do. Because if it doesn't happen, we will get to a point where people could be walking away with the worst form of crime and nothing will happen to them. Nothing will happen to them. Well, the Honorable Inusaf Hussein is joining us on the phone lines, a former member of Parliament for Tamale Central Constituency, a former minister of the Republic of Ghana, and he's a lawyer, a private practitioner. Counsel, good morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Johnny, how are you?
I am greater than Accra. Good to hear from you one more time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What do you think of all of what's happening? OSP here, CID there, EOCO there, FBI here, and we can't still answer the conundrum on Madam Abena Cecilia Dapa. First of all, what do you think?
Well, I've always said, and I'm repeating it on your network, that it appears to me that the institutions that you have mentioned owe it a duty to Ghanaians to tell us about the source of the money. If special prosecutor thinks that the money is not money realized from corruption or corruption-related activities, then you should tell us how Cecilia Dapa came by her money. That's a duty that is imposed on the special prosecutor in furtherance of the governance issues in fighting corruption, transparency, accountability, and others. Now, the EOCO clearly has no mandate to investigate corruption and corruption-related offenses.
Right.
But has mandate to investigate money laundering issues. And if special prosecutor is of the view that this matter is squarely within the purview of the EOCO, the EOCO has no excuse in saying that they can investigate because the special prosecutor has not given them further and better particulars about the matters that led it into concluding that this matter was within the purview of the EOCO. So for me, I think that Yoko ought to have initiated some investigation to satisfy itself that the money had been laundered or about to be laundered, or the money is a product of laundered receipts. But to say that because the Office of the Special Prosecutor has not given you evidence or documents of its investigation into malversation of the Parks case, you are incapacitated in investigating same, I mean, begs the question. So if the Special Prosecutor has simply received information about the resources, the money, and had come to the conclusion that, well, I believe that this is a matter for money laundering, and I referred the docket to the the Yoko. It's Yoko telling us that they wouldn't have investigated the matter. And so for me, it's a straightforward matter. I don't believe that the Office of the Special Prosecutor did a good job. One, because they investigated and refused or neglected to tell us about the source of the money, whether or not tax issues were involved, if the money was from legitimate sources, whether or not the money was acquired unlawfully or the money has been tainted by an illegality. They simply said it's a money laundering issue. So I think that on that score, I'm not at all enthused that the Special Prosecutor has failed to tell us what it came, the conclusions it came to in respect of the source of the money.
Do you get a sense, Counsel, that some finality will be brought to this matter at all? Because for 4 state institutions to have been involved in this and yet you have no answer, the public are doubtful. Are you equally doubtful?
Yeah, well, my doubt was heightened when the Special Prosecutor said it was referring the matter to Yoko. Heightened largely by reason of the fact that the Yoko is an agency under the Attorney General. And the reason or justification given for the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor in 2016 was because the MPP was of the view that the Attorney General finds it difficult in prosecuting his own in respect of ministers who sit in cabinet with him or her. And so in the view of the MPP, it was important that an office be established and insulated against operational interference from the Attorney General's office in view of Article 88, to give it the power to be able to investigate ministers of state who otherwise would not have been investigated from the Attorney General. So to have sent the docket to the Yoko was to go full circle also. And that's why we saw the Attorney General advise Yoko not to investigate the matter, because they had not been given the docket containing the investigative activities carried on by the Special Prosecutor. And so it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me. I mean, it doesn't. To tell you the truth. And also vindicated largely by what His Excellency the President said when he said that he hoped that and believed that at the end of the day, the minister involved will be vindicated.
Well, Lawyer Martin Pebu, one of the individuals who have petitioned Parliament to probe into the matter, says that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is just a PR stunt by the Akufo-Addo-led government. You were involved or in Parliament at the time as part of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament when this whole law came to the fore. Do you also believe that this was just another PR stunt by the Akufo-Addo-led government?
We knew when we were making the law that the Special Prosecutor would have difficulty because the Special Prosecutor's funds are going to be provided by the executive. the special prosecutor is going to be appointed by the executive. And so, even though we believed that it was important to put in an institutional mechanism to be able to deal with the canker of corruption, we were very much aware that because of the financial dependence of the special prosecutor on the executive through budgeting process, the special prosecutor might not be able to achieve much. And that was manifested largely in the tenure of Martin Amidu.
Right.
Severally did he come to Parliament and before the committee to say that he had not been, money had not been released to him. The first issue he faced was that he had no mandate to sign for the release of money because his office tactically was still under the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General, because the Attorney General to argue that because of the operational independence and financial independence given to the special prosecutor, she did not want, and what Akufo argued, that she did not want to be signing mandates for the special prosecutor to spend the money and she will be held accountable. So what we did was to impress on the Ministry of Finance to set up Martin Amidu as on the portal so that she could sign for the release of her monies. And that took a whole year. So that was an impediment. And then recruitment of staff. And then the LIs, because this Act 959 is an Act of Parliament, so you needed LIs for the operational efficiency of the offices, and the LIs were not coming in early enough. So he faced challenges.
I see.
And even when the president, through the Minister of Finance, announced that they were going to give him a huge amount of money, I think 118 million Ghana cedis then. At the end of the day, less than 10% of the money was released to him. So we knew that there were challenges. But I would not say that it was established as a PR gimmick. We had all been worried that if we fail to rein in corruption in public life, that will lead to impunity and our country will be doomed. So we had realistic expectations. That's why we navigated the fine contours of Article 88 to be able to establish this law.
Mr. Martin Amidu, firstborn of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, is the one who is now petitioning for his successor to be held, or if you like, kicked off from where he is in that position. Do you think it's being fair to the office, the special prosecutor now, Kessie Jammeh, because the same issues that he complained about, that the office was ill-resourced, is what pushed Mr. Kessie Jammeh to make those demands of the state. And now Mr. Amidu says, kick him off. Is he being fair?
That's the irony of the situation. That everybody would have thought that Martin Amidu, having occupied the office and gone through challenges and difficulties, he would have empathized with the special prosecutor in terms of the difficulties he's facing. But Martin Amidu is holding him to a higher standard. And that's the irony of the situation. Secondly, Martin Amidu, in all his engagements with the Committee on Legal, Constitutional and Parliamentary Affairs, made it abundantly clear that he wanted the office to succeed. That even if he failed to prosecute one single case, but was able to establish the rules and procedures for making the office effective, he would have succeeded. And so he knew the challenges. He was working to establish the rules and procedures for doing things at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So one would have thought that he would sympathize and empathize with the Special Prosecutor. But that's not the case. But that's what I'm doing for you. The issue about the petition,
right,
is a matter of opinion, not so.
Well, the AG has asked for Mr. Kessie Jammeh to respond so that they will be able to establish a prima facie. CJ, sorry, has written so that a prima facie will be, could be established. And from my lay perspective, somebody has written a petition, brought it before you. You are asking me to respond before you establish whether there's a prima facie. Do you not have to identify the prima facie before you ask me to respond?
No.
Okay.
The rules
So
of natural justice.
Educate us.
The rules of natural justice. If you are accused and I don't hear from you, can I make a prima facie determination on the accusation alone?
Well, no. But then, to the extent that within in the petition or contained in that petition, the allegations have been made. So present those ones to me and tell me that then I respond to it, or is that not so?
No, so when you look at the Section 15 of the Special Prosecutors Act, and that is, and I hear many people quote the Constitution, the Special Prosecutors Act is a creature of statute. And so the processes are regulated by the statute. And for the removal of the Special Prosecutor, it is Section 15. So, and it's entitled removal of the Special Prosecutor.
I hear you. So specific legislation against general legislation, is that the case?
Yes, specific against, okay, very well. You did some...
I like to read and listen a lot. Counsel, hold the line for me. Let me bring in another counsel. Justice Abdulai is a law lecturer at the UPSA. He's also a private legal practitioner with Crown Legal Consult. He is one of the petitioners who has gone before Parliament asking them to dig into the Cecilia Abena-Dapaah issue. Counsel, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Johnny. And indeed, good morning to my senior.
Good morning, Abdullah.
It has been a while, senior.
Good. I'm fine. Good.
Great.
Thank God.
Justice,
Johnny, sorry for taking your
enjoy. I like latitude, to give latitude to everybody. You tell me, Parliament resumed on Friday. Have you heard anything from them regarding your petition before them?
Officially, we've not been communicated to, but we do have a strong indication from the office that it's being worked on, and that we are likely to get a positive feedback from the House.
This petition that you have taken to Parliament, many people say you're actually wasting your time, because if 4 state institutions couldn't do anything, why do you expect, or how do you expect Parliament to be able to achieve anything?
So this is the part that is lost on others. The 4 or 3 institutions that have so far neglected or reneged on their obligations to get us the best outcome regarding accountability into the activities of City Lepa are not the final when it comes to the entire fight against corruption and probity and accountability and the rule of law and ensuring that we get value for money for the people that we put in office. There are indeed several other institutions that can always be employed to achieve similar objectives. Albeit they may not necessarily get the persons involved punished as we expect to happen if we had employed other means. So what it means is that depending on which tool you invoke, the outcome might be a little different. But the good part of the parliamentary probe that we are seeking is that it brings out the truth, it brings out the facts, it brings out the all the things that are lost on us with regards to this whole enterprise that we are engaged in. And it achieves one little objective by naming and shaming those involved. And it will be permanently on record that these persons engaged in activities that are unacceptable and against the very office that they swore an oath to protect. And for me, that is a good achievement if you're able to do that. And I believe that for all anti-corruption fighters and democratic watchers, this will be a very positive outcome should we end up getting this feedback from Parliament.
The only difference some say between you and your group, and then on one side and Cȯrruptiȯn being OSP on the other side, is that he went the further step, and as an officer of the state, he is being targeted for it. You work in the private sector on the side and all of that, citizen of the country. Do you also feel that you could be targeted? That is, if you believe that Cȯrruptiȯn has been targeted.
Believe the circumstances of KC, I don't think it's in variance with what the general public think. We are firmly on the same tangent when it is said that corruption indeed fights back and fights back strongly. Particularly in this regime, the activities of fighting back is stronger and possibly more than we've ever witnessed in the past. And when I say in the past, I mean since we started doing anything, since the Fourth Republic. This is the first time you see corruption fighting back strongly and in fact stronger and possibly ruthlessly to undo everything that anybody else attempts to do in the quest to protect the pay for all of us, for our collective good and collective well-being. And so, yes, we have absolutely no doubt that if the persons involved and their supporters, including, in particular, the office of the president, decides to come after us, they will come after us, regardless of where we find ourselves, whether in the private sector, in the public sector, or in any other sector. Corruption never, the fight by corruption against those who seek to expose them is no respect of a person's background or any other inclinations that person may have. And we've seen this, particularly in this regime, happening ruthlessly. So we have absolutely no doubt that it could come back, hit it at us. But unfortunately, that is the price you pay for being a citizen.
I see. Hussein, let me bring you back in the conversation and ask you, on hindsight, would you say we have to take a second look at the OSP law so that the issues that are being raised and people say the lacuna could become a thing of the past?
Well, to be honest with you, bias in favor of the OSP, the office, in the sense that just some few years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, we took a journey to establish an office of accountability. And we know that any office, it will have teething problems. Now, we know that because of the importance of this office in fighting corruption, it will face challenges. Now, we have always been praying for somebody with the requisite political will to make it effective. So the law itself hasn't been crafted in a way as not to conflict with the Constitution, even though when we were doing the crafting of the law, we were repeatedly warned that that law will be unconstitutional. So far, nobody has taken it, the act to the Supreme Court to challenge its constitutionality. So I had thought that as a baby, we will nurture it, could give it the necessary resources and nutrients in terms of encouragement to be able to stand on its feet. In passing the law, we had to go to many countries. It doesn't take just the establishment of the office to make it effective. It takes the collective involvement of the political structure, the citizens of a country, to be able to make that office effective. So that is why I will not hasten to condemn the establishment of that office. I think that, in fact, we are moving towards weaponizing the office. Just like we have weaponized personal financial laws. We're moving towards weaponizing the office. And the very presence of the office puts people on notice.
I see.
And so I think that we are still looking. We're still looking for somebody who will command respect from the executive and enabled to operate effectively and efficiently.
Should the office of a special prosecutor be headed necessarily by somebody who the president of the day appoints? I mean, the hand that feeds you cannot be bitten. That's the adage we know. And people say, look, to the extent that the president of the day is the one that appoints the OSP, come on, he cannot go back and be slapping the, what do you call it, the executive president on the wrist.
In Singapore, the office of the special prosecutor and the special prosecutor was appointed by the sitting prime minister and greatly assisted by the sitting prime minister to fight corruption. So it depends on the appointee, appointor. If the appointor is really interested in fighting corruption, it doesn't matter. And if that becomes his mission, it doesn't matter whether he appoints or not.
I see.
And in South Africa, the special prosecutor was appointed by. So in Canada, the special prosecutor, mind you, is a public officer. And Article 199 of the Constitution is very clear. It is the president who appoints public officers.
But then the countries that you mentioned, the jurisdictions that you're referring to, have their own difficult and peculiar political systems. For example, in South Africa, the party can wake up tomorrow and decide that they don't want the president anymore. He should go. So if we put that together, ours, we're stuck with the president, whether we like him or not, whether he's doing the right thing or not, until 4 years, until somebody is bold enough to go and say, I want to get him impeached. And those two scenarios are different, aren't they?
That's a very wonderful observation. And the countries I've cited, all of them have similar systems. Even though in South Africa they call the head of state president, but he's chosen by the party with the majority in parliament. He need not be a member of parliament. In Canada, it's a prime minister. In Singapore, it's a prime minister. So you are right. But that's the system that we have. Our system is a hybrid. Article 78, 1, I think, creates the hybrid situation where the president appoints his ministers from parliament. But the president owes direct responsibility to the people because he's elected through a universal adult suffrage by the people. So, is that what is affecting us? I don't think so.
Okay.
I think what is affecting us is just lack of political will and the difficulty in fighting corruption.
Justice Abdulai, part of the 6 pointers that Martin Amidu's petition to get Kiseja being, held to account rests on, for example, inducement of staff from sister law enforcement agencies, and here I would think that includes IOCO and etc. Abuse of citizens' rights through arrest and detention, abuse of the judiciary. And abuse of citizens' rights and through arrest and detention, you can say that Cecilia Dapa, for example, was arrested, detained, questioned, and later granted bail, and in that direction. Do you get a sense that he is doing something wrong, which is why he said has come on the chopping board? Because if he had not given an extension to the conversation regarding Madam Cecilia Dapa, perhaps we won't be talking about that matter for you to even go to Parliament to say you want it looked into. Yes?
Absolutely. However, those are not enough grounds to sustain a removal. They are not. If you really want to remove the person, as referred to in Section 16, it's quite clear as the basis to remove a person from office. And these are not part of the grounds that one could rely on to sustain an impeachment processes against the office of the special prosecutor. You need to be able to show more. You need to be able to show that he's incompetent. And these are not signs of incompetence. You need to be able to show that, for instance, he's probably not well enough by virtue of physical or mental insanity. None of these shows that. You need to be able to show that he has acted woefully in against the Constitution. I mean, in breach of the Constitution, and none of these shows any of those. And the very things that he referred to are matters that he is not even close with capacity to even invoke, because there are people who are affected by them, and those people can invoke them within our constitutional framework. They can invoke them to protect their rights. And so, some of them sound like you telling me that a police officer has unlawfully arrested you. You know, you can clearly, sue the IGP over this.
Right.
So if you petition the president to remove the IGP because the police officer has unlawfully arrested you, I think you may be a bit far-fetched in your understanding of what you're actually doing. And so, I think these are just litanies of complaints, and that do not necessarily in themselves warrant this whole discussion is about the possibility of removing Kisi Ezeabeth. I think Kisi may not be doing fantastic job, but I think within the difficulties that he finds himself, maybe he could do better than we are expecting. I mean, we are witnessing, particularly when you look at how this whole Sisi saga has been, and more so when we are informed that there are a lot of other important cases that we're hoping that he tackles. And so, if you take it from that angle, you could feel some form of disappointment, but clearly that should not amount to a resentment of the office he occupies and the job he's doing. I mean, you have every right to complain. But if you look at what the petitioner himself did, I do not think anybody would credit him with anything good as he was hailed initially when he was appointed, because a lot was expected of him as Martin. But when the kitchen got heated up, he literally escaped. He ran away, left all of us in disappointment. And so for such a person, you would expect that he understands the circumstances better, and he would even, my brother kept using empathize, but I would prefer appreciating the circumstances. You'd expect that he would appreciate the circumstances better and rather act better, maybe give more advice rather than seeking for the removal. Otherwise, nobody can occupy that office. If you go by the conduct of Martin and his stance at this moment, nobody can occupy that office. Nobody will be qualified to occupy that office.
Yesterday, I read again the Japa corruption risk assessment, which was conducted by lawyer Martin Mbidu, about his last report. And in that report, he stated clearly that the president is not committed to fighting corruption yesterday, today, and even in the future. And then he topped it by christening him the mother serpent of all corruption. In the public mind, they think that somebody is trying to fight corruption by asking the questions of where a minister of state, a cabinet member, member of the government, an important member of the ruling party, got her money from, kept money at home, and now with all the other revelations that are coming. And they had to take somebody who had said that there was so much corruption, he couldn't work, so he was leaving, to be the one to petition. What is your verdict on all this confusion?
So, as a matter of fact, this is the reason from my conclusion that Martin rather ran away when he had the opportunity to help us fight corruption. He had the best of opportunities. He had the best of goodwill when he occupied that office. He had the best of support. Indeed, every time one of his episodes came out, it became, if you want, the new Bible in town that everybody wanted to read and everybody wanted to be abreast with in order to be able to make informed decisions. In fact, it's like his episodes became the judgment of the conduct of this president in the fight against corruption. And largely, he was right to the extent that the president, from day one, I have maintained this position way before Martin Amidu came, that the president has never been interested in fighting corruption. And the lip service is just annoying when he keeps talking about the fight against corruption. As if he has any interest in doing that. When we all know that he's neither interested nor willing to fight corruption. But he's the most annoying human being when it comes to the fight against corruption and this whole thing. And so when Martin said it, he wasn't far from the truth. But to expect that the same Martin would reach out to the same president that he has labeled as the mother serpent of corruption, it's a bit weird. And one would expect that more be done rather in supporting to fight corruption, rather than resorting to the president, whom we know right from day one has never been interested in this fight. In fact, if you remember, right from the beginning when his ministers were being accused of corruption, he was their spokesperson. It was a president who would take up the initiative of coming publicly to defend ministers who were accused of corruption, not even the ministers themselves, not even other appointees. It was the president himself.
Okay, I hear you.
And so for such a person, it's just unfortunate that we have him as a president, but we should not credit him for anything and should not expect anything meaningful from him if we are dealing with corruption.
Justice Abdulai is a private legal practitioner with Crown Legal Consult. Is also a law lecturer at the UPSA. Is one of the petitioners asking Parliament to dig into the Cecilia Abena matter. Thank you very much for spending your morning with us, Council. We are grateful.
Oh, God and country always.
Great. Lawyer Nusafisen, you have the final word. Now, I'll read for you. According to Mr. Martin Amidu, he alleges that the OSP's handling of cases involving Madame Cecilia Abena, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, Colonel Damoa, Joseph Eduche, Customs Division of the GRA, Miss Eunice Jacqueline Ban, Asuma Hine of La Bianca, member of the Council of State as well, amounted to an abuse of rights of these citizens through the arrest and detention made by the OSP. Mr. Amidu attached the entire court documents filed, the High Court, to it. These are all very influential people attached to the government and to the party. The Martin Amidu says, look, asking them to come, inviting them, then arresting them, detaining them, questioning them, and is an abuse of the citizens' rights through arrest and detention. If the OSP is not able to do this, according to Martin Amidu, what else can he do? Closing thoughts.
Well, I have known Martin Amidu for a very long time. Since I left secondary school, at a point he even represented my father. I know him very well. And I know him not to want anybody to fight his battles for him. He wants to fight his battles himself. This guiding principle of his, I do not know why he has departed from it. All the people he has mentioned are people of substance and know when to fight to vindicate their rights. Why Matamidu thinks that he can arrogate to himself the power to fight to defend those people? These are not people who are ignorant of their rights. And somebody has to come to vindicate those rights for them. These are people who are men of the world and women of the world.
Right.
And secondly, the arrest, investigation, and in some cases prosecution of those people have not been challenged to the extent of in court, to the extent of pronouncing them unlawful. So on what basis is it saying that Kisa Jammeh has been so incompetent that he's violated the rights of people? Because somebody must pronounce on whether or not the actions are lawful or not.
Right.
Now, the thirdly, he says right to information. And there is an appeal process. There are procedures under the Right to Information Act that can be exhausted, or that ought to be exhausted, before you can say that somebody has willfully and violently breached the law. Now, you are saying that he failed to give you information.
That's right.
Now, if he fails to give you information, you have recourse to the commission. And you know the rules. And in some cases, the commission has fined public institutions. If even the commission sides with the officer, you have grounds to go to court. If the commission sides state security as reason or justification for the refusal, you can go to the Supreme Court. Now, you have not exhausted all these processes, and you are already citing a refusal to an RCR request as grounds for his removal. What about if the court says that the refusal was justified? So you see, that is why I've read the petition, and I find it difficult to understand the grounds. The grounds appear to be very weak. Yes, but public institutions must be held to account.
Right.
And so he's holding the Office of the Special Prosecutor to account, except that on this case, the fulcrum on which his petition is rested appears to be shaky.
Is it not interesting that Mr. Amidu writes to the president, his petition to the president, and which was forwarded to the CJ and in that process, but the president himself has refused a couple of RTI, requests on very sensitive matters, and there's a recent case. If Mr. Amidu's analogy is right, and what you have said is also right, then we may be looking at impeachment of the president, no?
I don't want to go there.
I had to go there. I'm the journalist. You are the lawyer. I'm the journalist.
I don't want to go there. It's so funny that, I mean, it's not even worth considering. The Supreme Court has on 2 occasions pronounced the president to have breached the Constitution. Have we filed for his impeachment? So if breaching the law is grounds for impeachment, the president breached the Constitution on 2 occasions, you remember? The Mulvo's case.
That's right. In fact, the Supreme Court told him that what they did was unlawful.
Unlawful.
Yeah.
Then we know what has filed for his impeachment. The president says he won't give us a KPMG report.
Right.
That's a right to information. It was a right to information request.
Right.
And we asked for his impeachment. So,
okay.
I think that to be fair to Mr. Amidu, amongst all the grounds,
right,
the most potent, in my view, is the breaches of the Procurement Act.
I hear you. I thank you.
Because that is one of the mandates of the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
Right.
And the Office of the Special Prosecutor cannot be seen to be disregarding one of his mandates when it suits him.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Enusa Fuseni, former member of Parliament for Tamale Central. He's also a private legal practitioner, former member, or if you like, the lead of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We're grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Great. SMP. You say something, Council? Should I invite you?
Thank you for staying tuned. PENDREAM TV really appreciates your time. Please, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so for us. Hit the notification bell. Like and also share to other members to watch as well. Thank you.
PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.